What is up, YouTube? It's Kingfisher745, and in this video I'm going to do my very best to tell you if you should buy the Mercurial or not. Now, I think that many of you know this is a weapon I've used in PvE probably something like 99% of the time since I got it. I also know that was a little over a year ago during the Black Bolt Spec Ops. The reason I know that is because I was in Florida on vacation in September 2013. Not that it matters, but that's definitely when and where I bought it. I've certainly never regretted it, even though I don't use it that often in PvP. Is it even PvP viable? Well, we'll get to that in just one moment, but first let's go ahead and look at exactly what it does. It's a single target melee slashing attack, and it has something called charging attack. When you use it, it removes all applications of quickness to deal increased damage. This attack is also stealthy. Then it has quickness. Just like Quicksilver, it increases accuracy and evasion by 10%. It will consume only one quickness to counter attacks, but the effect can be applied up to 5 times. So how do you gain quickness? Well, you have a chance to gain it when an ally attacks or is attacked. Oh, and I do want to mention one huge thing about this weapon. You do start with the quickness stack. This means that even if you don't get to go first, you can still counter the enemy's first attack. That may not sound huge to you, but in my opinion that could make or break the item. So obviously, since it does start with that quickness, that's a major pro for buying and equipping this item. Another great thing about this weapon is that counterattack does a lot of damage. I would say it's easily one of the biggest damaging counterattack weapons there is. Another pro is it's not based on chance, it's based on quickness stacks. This means that you can and will counter, especially since you already start with one stack. Then for its actual use, its damage can be really impressive depending on how many stacks you've built up. And not only that, it's stealthy, so it could save you in the right situation. So what are the cons? Well, we'll get to that in just one moment, but first, let's go ahead and get started with some PvP matches. For these battles, we're going to use a team up that it can really excel with, and it's going to be with a heavy counterattack setup. Now, even though I haven't used this type of setup in quite some time now, I still think it can be viable as long as you don't see a ton of Iron Fists or Raft Shanks. This also leads me to a few other cons of using this weapon. One thing that's rough for this or any counterattack weapon is of course off balance. Luckily, the Infiltrator Safeguard uniform does away with that. Other options could include using Iron Fist to prevent debuffs. Oh, and before we get into the second problem, watch what happens when the Warriors 3 use Elixir of Recovery after we've already used Demoralizing Shout. I have to say that's an amazing start to this battle. Alright, so anyways, another problem that you may have is if the enemy team does have removal effects, they can get rid of your quickness stacks. So it works the same as Quicksilver, you can get rid of his as well. Those are a few of the biggest cons to using the Mercurial itself. Then one of the biggest questions remaining is it worth one of your 4 equipment slots? This is something that you'll ultimately have to answer for yourself. As far as PvE, I would almost guarantee you that it's worth using. Personally, I like to use a protect weapon. The Blade of the Guardian works the best, at least for me. And then I also use the Mercurial, and then maybe even the Trigger Man, or I'll use the Warbringer Axe. But the Blade and the Mercurial are almost always in my setup. Like I said, it feels like it's 99% of the time. With the protect weapon, I don't have to worry about whoever I'm leveling getting killed, and then with the counterattacks, I can feel free to browse or play another game or do whatever, and oftentimes enemy waves will be taken out before I even pay attention. At the very least, it happens with minimal effort, and that's what I'm all about when it comes to farming. Now, I realize in this battle only Volstagg took a hit with the Mercurial, so we're going to play one more. Hopefully in this one we can get a counterattack as well as a normal strike. As I show you this match, I do want to tell you, you may not necessarily see the numbers that I do, but this weapon can do quite a bit of damage, as I mentioned. I remember when I first saw it, I was pretty impressed, and then also when I've been hit with it, it was really shocking. You don't expect a counterattack to do as much damage as this thing can. And there you see a 25k crit, and I have to admit that was perfect timing. So there's the counterattack, and now all we need is a regular hit. I can already tell you that's going to come at the end, but like I said, the damage that it ends up doing isn't necessarily what you're going to see. It may be a bit inflated. Still, I think it does illustrate what this weapon is capable of. As we get closer to the end, I do want to try to help you make a decision. First, if you've already bought this weapon, you don't need to feel bad or worry about it. It fully has my endorsement. I know we all sometimes have buyer's remorse, but in this case, I've never regretted it, and I've had it over a year. You may end up using it in PvP, and you may not, but at the very least you have one of my top recommended PvE weapons. For those who are thinking about buying it, and maybe you're on the fence, well, if you're leaning towards buying it, I would say you should. You're not going to hear me say anything about this weapon that should dissuade you or convince you not to buy it. However, if you were leaning towards passing on this weapon, then maybe that's the way you should go. I could understand if you already have a really good setup and you have your 4 equipment slots already filled, or maybe counterattacking isn't even your thing. Also, if the PvE aspect doesn't even matter to you, then it probably is a pass. But if you are still on the fence, well, here comes a 2-stack attack. Like I said, this isn't a typical hit with it, but it does pack a punch. Well, anyways, that's going to be it for our look at the Mercurial, and I hope that I helped you make an informed decision. My next video will be Kang Unlocked. But until then, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, good luck, and take care.